one time I walked up and this guy massively outranked me, is doing manual labor, and I'm like, "Here, Sergeant, I'll do that for you." And he's like, "Who are you? You're not one of my people." And I said, "Yeah, I'm the new medic." He goes, "Get out of my way. Go find a tree to sleep under." How me as an E5 told a general no. He wasn't directly in my chain of command. He just happened to be the commanding general of the post that I was on at that time.
Yeah.
And I thought he was wrong.
Yeah.
And that didn't go over well with my colonel at all, or my captain, or anybody in my
Chain of command.
I said, just kind of, because I always am looking for a creative way to do things. I said, well, I got a lot of houses right now. I'm paying off. I got to come up with cash to pay for this other engine, but within a month or so, I'll pull the cash out of something. I said, unless of course you want to trade a house for a plane, I'd do that today. I used my children as proof of concept. Devin went out. He obviously didn't talk to a banker. He got a loan from a private individual. I have never given him allowance. I have never paid for a down payment. Nothing. I have simply driven him to the right places. I taught him how to evaluate properties and find ones that are much more valuable than the price.
Did you know there's a technology that's actually an app on your phone that uses sound waves to tell your brain what you want your brain to do? We had a young man that was on a guest on our podcast, the Mike Litton Experience, who had a traumatic brain injury. He was sleeping 3 hours a night. He's using NewCalm now and he's sleeping more. Go to newcalm.com, Mike15 promo code. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. Mike is passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
Eric Wohlwend, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm super excited for our time together. Obviously, I've been a guest on your podcast, and now you're coming on ours. And I cannot tell you how cool this is. So thanks again for being here, bud.
Oh, it is just an honor. I really enjoyed the hour we spent together on my show. So thank you for having me here.
We probably had too much fun.
Hey, there's no such thing as too much fun.
I got you. So one of the things that we believe is everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go up to today. And then we want to talk about all the amazing things you guys are doing to teach investors. You have a really cool radio program that you do, different things that you do to help people succeed. I think it's really, really cool. And it all comes from your heart and your family. And I just think that's amazing, man. So where were you born?
I lived the first 4.5 years in my life. So up until I started school in Kent, Ohio, because my dad was a student at Kent State and then went to Western Reserve. And then he opened up a dental practice in a teeny little town. We have 3 stoplights called Navarre, Ohio. And then I spent the next handful of years there until I joined the Army at 19.
Oh, wow. So what was your favorite thing about growing up in that tiny little town in Ohio?
Oh, jumping on my bike. I mean, other kids that might be told be home when the street lights come out. It just, we could run anywhere and there were no street lights.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
when we went into town, I didn't even live in town. We were in a little allotment, but we'd be on, our bikes, and the fire department would sound a siren at noon.
Oh, wow.
So mom would always set up, okay, make sure you're home at 12:15 or 20 after, because then we'd hear the siren and know, okay, it's time to turn around and go home now.
Yeah.
If we're out playing in the creek or whatever.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, just growing up with a handful of kids in the allotment that were my age, playing, getting dirty.
Yeah.
And then eventually we started buying little ATC 70, and then I got a 4-wheeler, and riding.
That's a cool way to grow up, man.
Absolutely.
Cool way to grow up. So growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
Probably my mom. My mom and dad were married until I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up living with my mom. It wasn't like we were completely separated. They were They let us go whenever. I know it was set up that I was supposed to be with Dad every other weekend and every Wednesday because he took Wednesdays off. But I don't think any of them, I never was pressured in any way to spend more time with one or the other. So if
Yeah.
one was
Cool.
doing something cool or going on vacation, I could be there.
Yeah.
So I guess a lot of my stuff, the way I think, came from them. And
Yeah.
also my mom's parents were
Yeah.
pretty significant in my life.
Yeah. That my grandfather, my mother's father,
Mhm.
was like a father to me. I mean, he just unbelievable. I was named after the son they never had. So, you know, it was sort of the deal. We were on our little family unit when I was growing up, well, first part of my life. So so you in high school, did you have a favorite subject?
Science.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the way through. I guess I did high school. I was sure I was going to be a doctor. At first, I thought I was going to be a dentist like my dad.
Yeah.
And then I want to be either a thoracic surgeon, working on the heart, or working in the emergency room. I did a year of school. I graduated. I should have graduated at 16 and they wouldn't let me. So I graduated at 17. I went to Kent State and I realized, man, here's this lady. She's only a couple of years older than me.
Mhm.
And she has such a massive advantage because she
Mhm.
works in a pharmacy.
Yeah.
And then there was another one that was going through the same pre-med classes as me that was a nurse.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, it's so unfair that I am held to their standard. They know so much. They do this every day of their life. Well, if you can't change it, then you might as well be on the right side of unfair,
Right.
which, by the way, I still do in business today.
Yeah.
So I went out and joined the Army and became a medic. And then
Wow.
I
That's
spent the
cool,
next,
man.
yeah, well, 4 years active duty, Fort Bragg, got deployed. And by the time I got done with the reserve, the guard being activated for 7 months again after 9/11, I had 13 years as a medic in the Army. I was working in a local hospital, and that gave me a significant benefit over top of everybody else in my class.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So let's go back for just a second if we could. You mentioned 9/11. Where were you when 9/11 happened?
All right, I was in the National Guard. And I went, okay, so fast forward, I did all this to become a doctor, right?
Right.
Then 2 weeks before medical school, I go in search of my life. I figure I'm not going to do that. Insurance companies are taking over the world.
Mhm.
Doctors don't actually get to make decisions. And that was well before Obamacare,
Mhm.
which I can't even imagine. Oh, I absolutely would have been in jail
Yeah.
if I would have been a doctor during COVID. Let us say that I saw it differently than Doctor the Science saw it.
Yeah.
And I don't do well keeping my mouth shut, which is why I now have a radio show.
Right. That's cool, man.
So yeah, I'm sitting there and teaching anatomy of physiology and advanced biology. And
Yeah.
I'm in my advanced biology class in high school teaching all of these students. And we were studying for a test that was the next day. I was preparing them for the test. Somebody runs into the room and says, "Hey, Mr. Woolman, you know, a plane just flew into the Twin Towers. We have a test tomorrow. Leave me alone." I was confusing it with the Oklahoma City bombing that happened
Right.
years ago.
Right.
And then I realized what was going on. So we didn't even have, I was teaching out of the lab. We didn't even have a TV in there. So I took all my students over to the next door neighbor's science class and we sat in his classroom. Like, drag your chairs over.
Mhm.
And we watched the planes hit on TV. And then
In school. My
in
goodness.
the school, I came home. I immediately sent a girl down to the office. I'm like, "Hey, I don't know how to do this. Tell them I'm turning on my cell phone."
Mhm.
And I expect now realize I had just left Fort Bragg.
Right.
I had well, a couple years before that, our goal was anywhere in the world in 18 hours. I was in
Yeah.
a rapidly deployable combat airborne engineer unit.
Yeah.
And if somebody fires a shot in anger, then we have boots on the ground, no matter where it is, 18 hours later or less. And so I couldn't believe that I wasn't immediately yanked out of class. I totally forgot I'm no longer this elite machine at Fort Bragg. I'm just another National Guard soldier.
Yeah.
So My wife comes home, all my bags are packed, sitting at the top of the stairs. She walks in and she got home. I was a school teacher, so she came home later than me.
Mm-hmm.
Said, well, I guess that answers that question.
Yeah.
And then it ended up, all I did was at that first time, I was activated to travel out and give shots and physicals to all the MPs across Ohio.
Yeah.
And then I was eventually right after the school season ended, I was activated for 7 months to guard the dirt at Ravenna Arsenal. So I didn't go overseas that go round. I just sat around here babysitting people that were more or less full grown adults. I
Yeah.
just happen to have an extra stripe or two than them.
And they just needed babysitting.
And yeah, I'm there to make sure that the phone works once an hour, and then I log it, and I make sure the radio works once an hour, and I log it. And unless there's a terrorist attack, I don't really have a job.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, other than making sure nothing goes wrong and all the lines of communication are open. So
what was that like? Because you're used to being anywhere in the world in 18 hours, and really you're being massively underutilized from what it sounds like.
I really don't do well with boredom.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that part.
Yeah. And I had this private who I swear 1 year before this, she was a cheerleader. And there we are. I got 3 guys that work for me that are older than me, and this little loud 18-year-old blonde. And hey, Sergeant Wohlwend, you got to read this book. Hey, and we're stuck. The guard shack that we are in is exactly 3 pieces of plywood.
Wow.
So it is 12 foot by 8 foot minus 2 by 4 walls.
Wow. Wow.
And we open a gate, check the ID, close the gate. If it's ThreatCon Charlie, we take the mirrors, pop the hoods and the trunks, and look for explosives. And there's a massive backup down the road for hours and hours. And other than that, it's the same guys coming in. Hey, Bob. Oh, hey, Sergeant Smith. You look just like your ID did yesterday. Got any bombs? No. Well, I got to look anyways. Okay, cleared to go.
Yeah, hold tight. I'm taking the deal.
Yeah, I got the mirror underneath there on the
car,
stick.
right? Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So we're doing that, and she's, cheering. You got to read this book, Sergeant One. I said, if you tell my mom's been trying to get me to read Rich Dad Poor Dad since 1997 when it came out. So I go, if you tell me that book, I will curb this. I don't know what the audience likes. But in soldier terms,
we're a G-rated show, right? Yeah,
we're a G-rated show.
Right.
Yeah,
So
in soldier terms,
we'll call it curbing.
I said, well, you're going to sit your butt in a snowdrift for the rest of the shift if you say Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Right.
She's like, oh, you heard of it?
Yeah. Oh my
God.
God.
Next thing I know, everybody else lived there. Yeah. I was only 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I drove to the Arsenal, and I'm like the only one that gets to go home and see my wife at night.
Yeah.
Well, that gives me I'm up at 4:30 in the morning, and I drive up there. I work 6.5 hours, and then I've got all afternoon off. I'm done by 12:30. Wow. So right after lunch. And I had a 40-minute drive home where I was listening to cassette tapes and CDs, which, hey, they're like podcasts, only slower. Yeah. And you have to turn them over.
Right.
And then I'd read for 6 hours of the 6.5 hours of my shift, learning about business and investing. And I tried stocks and real estate and everything you can imagine. I just turned into a sponge. I could not absorb enough of this. I'm used to reading 100 pages a day of physics and calculus and organic chemistry books. And this stuff, they're actually written to be fun to read. So I'm absorbing information. And then by December, I had bought my first rental property with the $10,000, my total life savings up to that point in time. And I put 10 grand down on a $50,000 home and rented out to 3 or 4 college students. And it was right by Mount Union College in Alliance, Ohio.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? When they changed the name of Fort Bragg to whatever it was, America or Camp Freedom or something, how did you feel about that?
I didn't know about it.
Oh,
for
okay.
a long time, and somebody told me, and I laughed at him, and I was sure it was a joke. And what really came down, my buddy, I was just talking to him last night, who is still in the Air Force.
Mhm.
He's about 10 years younger than me. And I said, "Hey, you need to get away from your parents. All right. I'm just right about the same time. I'm in the National Guard. I talk him into joining the Air Force. I go, they take better care of you than that the Air Force was always better
Mhm.
for like comfort and food than the Army. And now he's a jet mechanic working on F-22s at Langley Air Force Base.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Well, I swing by there just in the last 2 years.
Mhm.
And he goes, "Yeah, show up to post. I'll get you on post, show you all the jets and stuff." And they pulled, we went into the guard shack. We had to park outside, walk in, and they did their check. And Lila had a picture. She's like, "I don't have bangs the way she wears her hair."
Mhm.
This picture is from before I had children. How do they have my picture?
Right.
And I realized when we first got married, I got her a dependent ID card.
Oh, so she's in the system.
So she's in the system
Ah,
from, I
way
don't know,
back.
the Ohio Army National Guard or
Right.
Reserve, and
Wow.
now Langley Air Force Base has the same picture, and Devin's 18, so it was, 18 or more years ago.
Yeah.
It was before she had him.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so they pulled up my old picture and they handed it to me, and to answer your question about Fort Liberty or Bragg or whatever,
Yeah.
this is where it really hit home. As a soldier, I'm always evaluating cops. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I still, after all these years, and I've been out for like 20 years, 19, I think, and I
Mhm.
was only in for 13. I still can't sit with my back to a door. It's
Yeah.
got to be facing, my back to the wall. And I'm sitting there evaluating these people that they might need a little more PT.
Yeah.
They're a little bigger around the gut, and so am I, but I've been out for 19 years.
Right.
And I'm evaluating the guards at Langley,
Wow.
and this girl's doing all the work, and the guy's sitting back there probably munching on ho-hos or something.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Your haircut's out of regs." And well, if you can see this right now, I have roughly the same haircut I did when I was a sergeant in the Army.
Mhm.
I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "This is still the perfect high end." He goes,
Mhm.
"No, I know. You're not legally allowed to wear it like that anymore." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're too intimidating."
Oh,
And
that
I looked at my buddy, Sergeant Kevin, we'll call
yeah.
him. Uh, and I go, "Is he serious?" He goes, "Yeah." And I had the same feeling there. Isn't
Wow.
that kind of our job, to be intimidating?
Well,
I was a sergeant in a combat unit. That is precisely what I was paid to do.
right.
And now I can't have my hair cut like this, not because
Yeah.
it's slovenly, but because it's intimidating.
Right.
So the way I felt about that is exactly the way I felt about them renaming Fort Bragg.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I just when they renamed it, I thought, "Come on, man. We
I
gotta
know.
stop this. This has got to stop." And the good thing is SecDef Hegseth reversed it, and it's
Oh,
now
I got a
Fort
lot of
Bragg
respect
again
for
and
that
all
guy.
that. So that's a good thing. Um, I always the fact that you were there as long as you were, right, and you'd been in the service as long as you had, I just wondered what your opinion was. I kind of already knew the answer to it. So
Well, look at it like this. My grandfather worked at some radar control station in World War II.
yeah,
And then my father was a platoon sergeant in Vietnam.
yeah,
I went in to stay in until I was a platoon sergeant, an
yeah,
E7. And I never would tell my children you can't enlist or become an officer, but they got the point that that is ridiculous and stupid.
yeah,
And anybody going in, and Kevin said the same thing. He goes, "These idiots come in here and then they go out and they get a sex change surgery
mm,
and they're non-deployable." Well, you know what? If you can't jump out of an airplane in my unit, your butt gets thrown out.
yeah,
Maybe not out of the whole army, but you're not staying
yeah,
where I was. And here they are immediately on drugs, which make them non-deployable. Heck, I remember during a quarterly readiness brief, I stood up and said one of the companies, and I didn't know I wasn't supposed to say this. I'm I'm working 2 stripes above where I'm supposed to be. I'm an E5 and an E7 slot.
Right.
My boss is in the Dominican Republic, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it'll be easy. Just show up, do the briefing for me." And I walked in, and they're like, "Well, no, according to the exact military standards, Alpha Company is non-deployable."
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. When I called out a captain as an E5, the colonel jumped all over the captain
Yeah.
and went out being mean to me. The captain called up and said, "You tell me exactly what you need. We will be deployable by Friday.
Yeah.
And I don't care what it takes." And
Yeah.
and
That
it
is
was
so
just
cool.
because they didn't get their they didn't have their teeth looked at. And it's not like they had teeth falling out. They just didn't make the time. They spent too much time jumping out of airplanes and blowing stuff up
Yeah.
to go in and see a dentist once a year like we were supposed to.
Yeah.
They were in line waiting to get in to see the dentist as quick as they could starting the next day.
Yeah.
Bam, we fixed the paperwork error, which is really all it was. And they were deployable again.
That's
And
cool.
you think about the difference now where they're like, "Oh, it's okay, little Johnny. You can turn into little Susie and
Mhm.
take these drugs, and the government's going to pay for everything." And yeah, to say I was disgusted, and that I don't even care what your moral beliefs are. I don't
Mhm.
care uh, that had one of the first females that was actually in a combat position because Clinton decided it was a great idea to get females in combat.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'd take her over a couple of the male privates they gave me.
Mhm.
She was not as strong as most of them, although definitely stronger than one. And oh, mentally, she was tough as nails. She
Yeah.
could handle anything. I can build your muscles,
Yeah.
but I can't fix a weak mind.
What's
And
the what's the single most important thing you learned in your service?
mm, absolutely, it really drove in, I guess, what my dad, who also was a drill sergeant, and when he was in, just always do what you say you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Be on time. Uh, One of probably my first sergeants or platoon sergeants taught me right place. It's not enough to be there.
Yeah.
Right place, right time, right uniform.
Yeah.
All right. You're always 5 minutes early. And well, like you said, on my radio show, I had 2 guests scheduled for yesterday.
Mhm.
2. And one of them at least postponed that morning.
Yeah.
And then the other one sent an email, not to me, didn't call me, but sent an email to somebody else, which I didn't get till many hours later, that she had an emergency come up, like right when we were starting.
Hmm.
I can't imagine. It doesn't matter what the emergency is. If I'm not physically taking my child to the hospital, I could never have canceled on you
Yeah.
or been late. So yeah, no matter what, do what you say. Be where you say you're going to be. You make a commitment, then you give them it's not like things don't come up. One of my planes broke down and I was stranded in the Outer Banks when I was supposed to be in Nashville. And I went through everything. I bribed and tried to rent an airplane and everything. And I finally got for $10,000. Now I'm going to a free speaking gig where I might sell a couple $100 worth of books. And I offered to pay $10,000 to take a King Air to get it to fly from West Virginia to the Outer Banks and then take me to Nashville.
Wow.
And I would have done that, but they said, "We're not sure we can get you there on time. It's 50-50."
Hmm.
And I'm like, "Well, I'm not paying 10 grand
For
to be
50/50.
an hour late." Yeah.
Right.
And
So I
but I
I'm
immediately
notorious.
called the guy early in the morning when I realized my plane didn't start to begin with.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Thanks for at least giving me all day to find somebody to replace you."
Mhm.
So yeah, bad stuff has happened. Oh, I assure you, the next time they were kind enough to rebook us,
Mhm.
which worked out well. We had the biggest crowd, according to them, that they had had since COVID.
There you
Uh,
go.
but yeah, we went back and really went overboard to make up and apologized and called it right out. Hey, they spent all this money advertising. You guys all drove some people from different states
Mhm.
to get here to see us speak. and we let you down. We want to say right now, if you were willing to come back a second, we apologize.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to give you for free to make it up to you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really
But
cool. I notoriously show up early.
yeah,
Obviously, most of the time it's 30 minutes early, right? There's a guy I've been working with for a number of years, and he's notoriously late to everything. And there's always excuse this, excuse that, whatever.
my
I
mom
went
was like that and I hated it.
I went to a I went to meet him at a property that we're considering buying, and he was 30 minutes early. And so I looked at him and I said, "Are you feeling okay? Are you running a fever? What's going on, right?" And he goes, "No, no, no." He goes, "I just knew you'd be early." So we've had an impact because of how we show up and when we show up. We've had an impact on not just him, but other people, where if
Yeah.
they know that they're meeting me, they'll get there early because they know I'll be sitting there waiting for them, you know? So there's something to it. There really is. And to me, it's just simple respect. It's the way that I would want to be treated. And so I treat others the way I would want to be treated. And it's just,
But it's not
the way
just
you do.
respect for them, which it absolutely is. Don't disrespect me and my time.
Yeah.
It's respect for yourself.
Yeah.
Doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that,
I agree with that.
and when you show up, don't show up without a clipboard and a pen if you're there to do a walkthrough checklist, or at least your iPhone if it's digital nowadays,
Yeah.
right? Have the materials you need, right
You
place,
ready?
right time, right uniform.
Yeah. I got out of my
That
truck
means,
and he said, "We're going to need a tape measure." I'm like, "Done." Grab it
yeah,
out of my cup holder and, right. I mean, it's, we're ready when we go to these places, we're ready to go. So whatever it is we need, we got it. So after the service, you had rented a house out to 3 or 4 students, it sounds like, right?
yep.
And it sounds like that was kind of a little bit of a success for you. And it kind of lit a fire because it sounds like in the next couple of years, you guys went out and bought a bunch more properties, right?
Yes, we did.
Talk about that for a second.
All right. So we buy our first one and fixed it up. And I don't really consider myself an investor. Like I said, in search of my life. And I knew it wasn't teaching long term. I happen to have a pre-med degree. And what do? You teach anatomy and physiology at a private school where you don't need a teaching certificate.
Yeah.
And then I go and volunteer a bunch of places, and one of them likes me and they activate me after 9/11 because everybody, one, they're always hurting for medics. At
Yeah.
least when I was in, I could go anywhere, say, "Hey, I need a job, send me somewhere for the next 2 weeks." And they always had somebody that needed a medic.
Yeah.
So I could go there. Not to mention, people liked me because I wasn't the medic that hid in the back of the ambulance. And they'd go, "Hey, sleeping in the box again." Or one time I walked up and this guy massively outranked me, is doing manual labor. And I'm like, "Here, Sergeant, I'll do that for you." And he's like, "Who are you? You're not one of my people." And I said, "Yeah, I'm the new medic." He goes, "Get out of my way. Go find a tree to sleep under." And we're in the desert. There's no trees.
Right.
But this just baked my mind. I couldn't believe. Sorry about that. I had everybody turned off but my wife.
Yeah. There you go.
I couldn't believe that he's working and I'm not.
Yeah.
So I was that one medic out there that always got dirty. We're with the engineers and I'm driving the dozers and stuff.
Yeah.
And, we're doing explosives and I'm setting the charges. I'm down there on the line with them, walking through the swamps, getting muddy and dirty and cold. But people like that when you're out there
Absolutely.
working with them.
Absolutely, they do. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So leading by example, that sounds like it's the story of your life to me. So you buy this property with the 10,000 down, you rent it out to 3 or 4 college students. Sounds like it went well. And then you guys kind of go on a tear. Can you talk about that for a second? Like, how did it feel
At
to have
first,
that
I was
first
going
one
to
be a
fix it up
success?
and sell it. My goal, I was a skydiving instructor too.
Mhm.
And I had a little gear store selling t-shirts and altimeters and stuff like that, right? At the local airport skydiving place.
Yeah.
And that was my first business. And working on getting my rigger's license so I can pack reserve parachutes. And I eventually wanted to get my pilot's license and then buy the owner out because he was getting older. And I told my mom, I was like, hey, she owns, I don't know, 7 or 8 rentals at the time. She had just, I didn't know anything about it, but she always wanted it. When I was a kid, she was a real estate agent and decided she wanted to buy some rentals. And my dad's like, no, 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 you can't do that. Well, the moment they got divorced, she started doing that. So she's got this, and she goes, why don't you just flip? You've done some work on my properties. I know when I was 15, I helped build my own bedroom. We put a major addition on the house. So this big trophy room, the living room, my room, a mudroom to walk in. And she goes, I know you know how to fix things. Why don't you just fix up a couple of houses and flip them? And this is before the great financial crisis. This is in, 03.
Oh, Mom.
Oh, I fixed it, and I realized if I sell it, I've got to give away like 10% in closing costs and real estate commissions and stuff. And then I'm going to take another 10% off to make sure it gets sold, either by giving them a concession for carpet or lowering the price or whatever. Well, now I'm at 80%, right?
Right.
Or I could go out and get an 80% loan and not pay any taxes. And after that, I still had to pay all these capital gains taxes.
Right.
So I can actually put more money in my pocket and I can keep the house and make $50 a month. That was my goal. I didn't understand math back then, but I really thought I was going to make $50 a month on that house. It wasn't nearly that good. But I figured if I just do 10 of these, then I'm 29 years old. Let's say I get these 10 done by the time I'm 30. I get 15-year loans. I'm 45. That'll give me $6,000 a month coming in. I can live on $6,000 a month, right? Because I'm renting them out for about $600 back then for a 3-bedroom home.
Right.
And then I realized, well, you got expenses. You still got to pay property taxes and insurance, even when the mortgage is going. Maybe I need 12. So let's do 12 really quick.
Yeah.
And I bought my second rental property, and I went to my first real estate investor group and talked to professionals and immediately learned a little bit better math. And I thought that I had calculus in college that might help me. No, I needed 4th grade math, really understanding 4th grade math. And I realized I need 30 to 50.
Yeah.
So in the next 23 months, we bought 20 units.
Wow.
And it took me less than 2 years to get to 20 units. And I actually had enough money coming in then that I didn't have to work anymore.
We're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how you went about accumulating 20 in less than 2 years. We'll be right back. Did you know there's an app that has no side effects that allows you to use sound waves to tell your brain what you want it to do? It's called newcalm.com, and it's amazing. It literally uses sound waves. If you want to tell your brain to go to sleep, if you want to tell your brain to recover, if you want to tell your brain to put you in peak physical state, if you want to tell your brain to focus, if you want to tell your brain to take a power nap, you can do all of these things and more with newcalm.com. Go to newcalm.com today, promo code Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go there today. We're back with Eric Wohlwend, and we were talking about specifically this sort of accumulation, right? Where you bought one, you rented it out to some college kids. It was a success, and then you decided to go out into the flipping business, but you ended up acquiring like 20 properties in a couple of years. How in the world did you do that?
My why was big enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any. I am always driven, but it doesn't matter. I love to say, we said it all the time. I said it on my last vacation. My wife's she goes, this is the right way. I said, this is as good a way as any. Said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Might as well just keep, but you can't run harder and faster down a road and hope that it's going to take you to the beach.
Right.
When, let's say you're in Ohio and you're running west.
Yeah.
There's a lot better ways to get to the beach. You got to know
So
where you're going.
was there
So,
something in particular that you identified that helped you sort of just accelerate this the way you did?
well, yeah, when my third boss in 2 years said you're fired, that gave me a lot of drive.
You got
And
fired?
oh yeah, I thought you knew that part.
No, I didn't know that part.
So, yeah, I'm working in the hospital, and I just graduated.
Yeah.
My wife and I are sleeping on a mattress on a warehouse floor,
Hmm.
and by choice, we chose to quit paying $400 a month in rent
Mhm.
and sleep in a warehouse with no heat in December in Ohio
Okay.
rather than paying $400. And I
Okay.
took that extra $400 every month that we would have paid in rent and bought drywall and paint and wiring. But we turned that into our first home.
Gotcha.
So that was in 2000. She graduated in the fall of 99. I graduated in spring of 2000.
Mhm.
And we did that until I came home working second shift in the ER. It's midnight when I get home. And just after 2 in the morning on Christmas morning of Christmas 2000, 25 years ago, I turned the furnace on for the first time, and we got it over about 42 degrees inside our home.
Wow.
And that was her Christmas present that year. So that's where we were 25 years ago. And
So
then
so there was no extra spending. You were taking everything that you were saving and you were throwing it into the properties.
and we both were basically orderlies. We're techs, and she worked in a hospital and then got sick of the clientele.
Yeah.
So she went where, I mean, like, she got tired of being, bit and scratched and stuff. So she went to work for a vet instead, where the animals are a lot nicer than the emergency room.
Where she's still gonna get bit and scratched, but by nicer
But by
animals,
nicer
right?
animals, yes. Yeah, these county hospitals at 2 a.m. sometimes are
Yeah.
exciting.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I got fired for something I absolutely didn't do.
Oh,
And
geez.
I'll tell you what I did do. I knew one of the nurses was sleeping with the CEO. I might have told her she should probably get off her fat butt and do her job for a change. That's not what they wrote
Whoops.
me up for. But so I caused it. But in my mind back then, it's like, well, I didn't do it. And I have all these witnesses that say I didn't do what they said, but I got fired. Well, then I get picked up. Right. I immediately get a new job and I'm making twice as much money. Now I'm teaching anatomy and physiology.
Mhm.
And then I lose that job because it's a private high school and they have a drop of enrollment. Well, who are you going to fire? The first year teacher that doesn't have a teaching certificate.
Right. Last
So
in,
we're gonna
first out. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chalk that up to absolutely nobody's fault. If I was making the decision, I couldn't ignore logic enough to get rid of anybody but me. I was the obvious choice.
Yeah.
And then we go on to the Army. I caused some trouble. I disobeyed. Technically, I did disobey a lawful order. And it was a stupid order. And
Mhm. Might have been lawful, but it was stupid.
yeah, it was stupid. And he was my boss that day. But the weekend before, I was his boss. And the weekend after, I was his. We just flipped back and forth because we were the same rank.
Right.
So it ended up spiraling out of control. They said, look, this is ridiculous. Apologize, so it'll never happen again, and go back to work. And I'm like, no, I think I was right. I said, and I'll apologize if I offended his delicate sensibilities or whatever.
Mhm.
I said, but nah, Colonel, if you gave me that same order, I would come in. And what he did is he ordered people that weren't allowed in our because they didn't have enough rank to come in and clean up after us.
Wow.
No, I'm not sending a private in. I can pick up a mop and mop the floor. I can clean the latrine.
Right.
So it's not like the job's not getting done.
Right.
I fulfilled the intent of the order, even though the order was sent in a private to clean up after us. And you won't let them come in and use the bathroom when it's freezing outside. They got to use the porta-john. I
Mhm.
refuse to order them to clean up our crap
Yeah.
because someday I might order them to charge a machine gun nest and it might save 30 lives, even though they know they're going to die. And they'll think, wow, Sergeant Wohlwend gave me a stupid order before. Why would I listen to him now?
Yeah.
And I was literally the only one there that had ever heard a shot fired in anger. I was the only one of the only ones that had real active duty time, and definitely combat time. So I thought differently than them, and I decided, nah, I'd rather just leave than give a stupid order. So I drove, and the guy that originally wrote me up, we sat together at lunch and had a great time. And he's like, I can't believe they did this. I'm like, don't worry about it. I could have prevented it. And it was all my 100% no matter how you look at it, it's all my fault.
So I get the whole idea, like the wisdom behind, you're frozen again, but I get the feel or the wisdom behind, if I need him to charge if I need that private one of these days to charge a machine gun nest, right, to save 30 lives, I need to have the leadership capital reserved, so to speak, to be able to make that happen in order for him to follow that lawful order. I get all that. How did you feel at that time? Were you feeling like you were accumulating leadership capital? What was it that you felt like you were accomplishing at that moment?
First off, I absolutely love that word, leadership capital. I'm going to have to save that. No, I can't tell you things that most real soldiers wouldn't believe. How me as an E5 told a general no. He wasn't directly in my chain of command. He just happened to be the commanding general of the post that I was on at that time.
Yeah.
And I thought he was wrong.
Yeah.
And that didn't go over well with my colonel at all, or my captain, or anybody in my
chain of command.
Yeah. But no, I never backed down. It definitely hurt me in the Army.
Yeah.
The thing is, I still got promoted. I was a sergeant in 3 years. I was E7 and 10. I got promoted very rapidly.
Yeah.
But there were long times where I was on the outs.
Yeah.
And then I would do something miraculous and they'd have to promote me immediately, because you just can't have somebody that, makes it through both sapper school and EFMB back to back. We had 86% of the people, or 84% of the people, failed out of a course.
Yeah.
I was the only private to graduate, and they can't let you graduate and leave you a private for long. It makes everybody look really bad. So that's how I got out of one other problem that I'd caused for myself as a private.
It sounds like you were at a place, if I'm not mistaken, it sounds like you were at a place in your life where basically life was running you instead of you running it. And
I didn't like that.
That just didn't work for you,
took it.
right?
No.
Yeah, you just took control and got after it, it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, I did the same with real estate.
Yeah.
And rather than, I'm sitting there at the stop sign on the way home from the armory and or from the arsenal, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't tell my wife I lost another job.
Yeah.
So I go straight to the bank.
So
I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay. You were sitting at a stoplight and you ended up going straight to the bank, right? And you said, Tony, I need a loan.
I need a loan.
Right?
And he's like, it's got to be a great deal. I said, best one I ever bought. He says, what's the address? I said, I'll tell you on Friday. And
you didn't have an address yet, right?
No, I didn't have anything. I went home. I had my real estate agent send me every property that was for sale in the entire city for $50,000 or less.
Wow.
And I sat all night long crossing these off. But my wife comes home and I'm like, she goes, you're home early? I said, good news. I'm a full-time real estate investor. And she says, does that mean you lost another job?
Yeah.
That was my motivation. And I had just spent the last 6 months, 40 minutes on the way to work, 40 minutes on the way to listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Was, and reading 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I had done one rental, and the college students just moved in, who were only a couple years younger than me. I was 29. And, I said, yeah, let's do this. And then I went and I joined the local real estate group. Yeah. And then I joined the next bigger group in a bigger city. Yeah. And within a few months, I'm on the board of the local group. And a month or two after that, I'm on the board of the next group. And then like a year later, I'm the president of the little group.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm surrounding myself, and that's not enough. I gotta learn from these guys. These guys know everything. They have like 50 units. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Who could ever own 30 units all on their own or 50 units?
Right.
And I figured out that's not what you need to retire. That's a pretty good retirement, but that's what the average Joe can handle when he's afraid to let go and hire people.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Mhm.
that back then, but that's where you stall at it, 30 to 50 units most of the time. And so I'm learning from them, and I thought, well, now I'm meeting them 4 times a month,
Mhm.
2 meetings and 2 board meetings.
Right.
I need more. I gotta have more. So I start this Wednesday mentoring group,
Wow.
just hoping I can get in. For a long time, it's just me and my wife.
Mhm.
And then eventually we get 1 or 2 of the big boys to show up every now and again. I'm still doing that. It went from Wednesday morning breakfast to Wednesday night dinners,
There you go.
which I am going to in a few hours.
Yeah.
But I'm still doing it, and it turned into me mentoring hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes only, 8 or 9 people there. Sometimes there's 2 dozen.
Yeah.
But every Wednesday that I've been in town, I have done this and helped and mentored all the way back since like '03. So for 22 years now.
That's awesome. So what's your favorite thing about running and being a part of this mentoring group?
Oh, seeing the new guys. I
Yeah.
got this guy that's been dragging his feet. He's probably been around for 8 or 10 years. He's never bought anything. So I called him out. He's
Yeah.
like, "I'm gonna buy something last year." I said, "No, you're not." And this year he's like, I'm gonna buy 3." I go, "Why don't you just focus on getting your first one?"
Yeah.
And finally, I threw down. I was like, "I bet you don't close on one." And he's like, "What do you want to bet? $100?" I'm like, "No, I don't take your counterfeit. I want real money." And I pulled out an ounce of silver and tossed it down. And this is the guy. He just brought in like 125 ounces of silver
Mhm.
and said, "I want to buy a house, and I want to find you, Eric. You're creative enough. You can find me a way to buy and put a down payment on the house with my silver."
Right.
So I pulled out my ounce of silver, which, by the way, I just had these made. That is our logo of our radio show and books.
I love it.
And I
That's
had
so
my own
cool.
silver made. That's how much I love silver. I said, "I bet you 1 ounce of silver," which is like $40
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Uh, and I can't wait to lose this bet. That will make me happier than ever
Yeah.
if I lose this bet. But it's your pride on the line. It's not the piece of silver, it's your pride.
Yeah.
And guess what? He's bothering me while I'm in Oshkosh at a fly-in last week. And I had one of my business partners who's selling one of his properties, and this other guy I coordinated and sitting underneath a tree watching an air show
Hmm.
at Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I set up a deal so this guy is buying his very first rental property here in Ohio
That's so cool.
after struggling for 7 to 10 years at least.
How does that
Uh,
make you feel?
so good. That's absolutely the best part. I love helping the new guys get started.
Yeah. It's
So,
gotta feel like you're paying it forward, that you're literally God has prepared you for what you're doing right now.
oh,
You
I love it.
know?
Well, I was talking we're at same air show. I decided to buy my 3rd airplane.
There
This
you go.
one, I've got the big one that gets me across the Rockies, but I want a dinky little open cockpit 2-seater, and I'm buying a gyrocopter for me and Ethan to go out and play in.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "So what do you need?" I said, "Well, I just had a $100,000 oops because I cracked an engine on my other airplane.
Mhm.
So we had to take one of the engines off and send it in for a complete overhaul, which is about 100,000."
Wow.
I said, "But I want this," and the gyrocopter, the whole thing is going to cost as much as one engine being overhauled on the other one.
Mm.
I said, just kind of because I always am looking for a creative way to do things. I said,
Mhm.
"Well, I got a lot of houses right now. I'm paying off. I got to come up with cash to pay for this other engine, but within a month or so, I'll pull the cash out of something." I said, "Unless, of course, you want to trade a house for a plane, I'd do that today."
Mhm.
And he goes, "What do you mean? Where?" I go, "Just a rental in Ohio where it actually cash flows."
Mhm.
And he says, "I've always wanted to get into real estate." So I'm talking to the engineer that designed multiple aircraft
Right.
He is the owner of the company that is building these things. And I'm teaching him about real estate at the largest fly-in in the world.
Unbelievable.
And I might trade one of my rental properties for one of his gyrocopters.
Wow.
But I love the creative things.
Yeah.
And if you're like, well, I want to buy a house, but I'm just not in a position yet. I didn't ask if you were in the position
Right.
to buy a house. You let me figure out. You just tell me honestly and don't hide anything. Don't be embarrassed. Just tell me everything about you.
Yeah.
And I will find something that I can use to help you buy a home.
Yeah. That's so cool.
And I get tingles when I do that for new guys.
So I talked to a guy yesterday who's a real estate investor, young guy, super like fired up. And he had 2 limos that he ended up trading for down payments for 2 rental properties. And that's how he got into real estate. He didn't even come up with the cash or any of that kind of thing. He literally used these 2 limos to become a real estate investor that he owned free and clear. So it can be done. I promise you it can be done. And you're living proof of it, right? So can we talk about the books you all have written? I mean, you have, I want to say 5 or 6, right? That you've written and had published?
We did. So we'll start with my sons. I wrote obviously a leadership book about being in the Army and starting a business years ago.
Yeah.
And then forgot it. It was just to say I had a book, right? And then my kid got very interested and decided when he was 7, I tell everyone, anybody can do this. If you have a 4th grade education, you can do it. And to prove it, I used my children as proof of concept. Devin went out. He obviously didn't talk to a banker. He got a loan from a private individual. I have never given him allowance. I have never paid for a down payment. Nothing. I have simply driven him to the right places. I taught him how to evaluate properties and find ones that are much more valuable than the price.
Yeah.
Cheap doesn't matter. Cheap is stupid. Cheap is bad. Okay. I want value that is mispriced.
Right.
So just because you can say, well, this was so cheap. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. A lot of things are really because nobody wants them.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know the difference between value and price. And I taught him that. And he bought his first handful of properties starting at 7 years old.
Wow.
And he just turned 18 and without any credit walked into a bank and got a loan and pulled like $350,000 out of the first 6 or 7 properties out of the 49 he owns right now.
And he's how old now?
He's 18.
Wow.
He did that the week he turned 18. He did that, and he was an accredited investor and bought in to a private bank the week he turned 18.
What a great
So
kid.
he wrote the book, If I Can Do It, So Can You, How I Started Buying Real Estate at age 7. Well, now we're traveling around. He's on all these podcasts talking about this and ends up meeting Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul. And Mark says, oh my gosh, this is awesome. You got to write a book with me. So Mark publishes his next 2 books, the Atlas Gold series. And Mark is calling us and talking to us. We became good friends. And he said, Eric, of course, when you write your book or your next book, I'll write the foreword. And what went through my mind was I have no desire to ever write another book again. And what came out of my mouth was, yes, Mark, I'll get right on that. So I thought.
So much for the brain controlling the mouth.
It reminds me of one of the first times I landed at a towered airport without an instructor.
Yeah.
And like, you're cleared to land on 19. I'm like, roger that. Cleared to land on 19er. And they're like, it looks like you're lined up on runway 23. And I'm like, yeah. Call sign. I am executing a missed approach. Yeah. I didn't even know what that meant. I just heard somebody say it and it sounded cool.
Yeah.
And what went through my mind was, oh my God, how much trouble am I in? I almost landed on the wrong runway. Yeah. And what came out was, roger that, executing a mixed approach now. So Yes, obviously I have become a pilot as well.
Right.
But so we wrote Family Success Triangle, explaining how we have started and grown 21 different businesses, uh, done more than 1,000 rehabs, currently own more than 400 rental properties.
Yeah.
Each of my children, who are 15 and 18, became accredited investors and went out with their money, bought their own pickup truck, nothing fancy. They just both chose to buy a blue pickup truck of all things. One got the brand new, best and newest Frontier, and the other one got a 15-year-old who was born the same year as him, stick shift Ford Ranger, because he
Wow.
was determined he was learning to drive a stick, and that was what his first truck was going to be.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. What a
Uh,
great story.
but yeah, so I wrote Family Success Triangle about
Mhm.
raising my kids and teaching them business. And obviously, if they've never been to school, I mean, Devin was accepted into Kent State and did his first college semester at 12,
Mm.
got his 60 hours of credit that he needs to be a licensed real estate broker because he wants to take over the real estate brokerage,
Mhm.
and then dropped out at 17 with 2 classes left before he got a degree. And my mom was less than thrilled, as you can imagine. She's like, "But you only have," he goes, "Why? They're not teaching me anything.
Yeah.
I already make more than my instructors, and I'm in entrepreneurship classes. So, if you can draw, would Da Vinci
Mhm.
continue in art classes until he got his degree?
Mm.
Probably not.
Exactly.
Money's not everything, but if you're teaching about money and you make more money than your teacher, maybe you shouldn't have to go to school anymore."
Mhm. Good for
So
him.
yes, that was Family Success Triangle, and then the kids are like, "Well, I wanna write all the lessons we've learned from you,
Mhm.
but just put a couple in a book." And it's all wrapped up in high school drama. So Ethan, the 15-year-old, has the treehouse, and they got into superhero movies. So the treehouse has a crossover with Devin's garage, and the same characters, they show up for just a quick little conversation, then move on
Mhm.
because they were watching the Flash and the Arrow crossovers when they were writing these and thought that would be cool to do with their books.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Uh,
So you all are teaching seminars.
Yeah, we travel around. For the last 4 years, they've taught the Youth Academy, which they're
Mhm.
not this year, but I think it was the last 4 years they did the Youth Academy at the National Real Estate Summit, and we've spoken all over the US, Canada, Mexico, even in Argentina once.
What's your favorite thing about speaking about real estate success?
Oh, wow. Well, I really, really love the energy
Yeah.
that I get from the audience. They keep me going.
Yeah.
I used to teach for somebody else teaching his stuff,
Mhm.
and we'd do 14-hour days, 4 days straight, and have a couple days off, and then do 5 days the next time. And just outrageously long. I come back so pumped up I can't sleep, even though I know I'm only getting a couple hours of sleep, and my throat's so sore from talking continuously.
Mhm.
But the energy that I get is what keeps me going.
Yeah.
Um, we were gone 2 out of the last 3 weeks, but we went to Boca Raton for a natural resources thing where we're always students as well.
Mhm.
And then we were home for like 6 days and barely got the yard mowed. And then we're in Oshkosh, Wisconsin for the greatest flying in the world
Mhm.
with 800,000 pilots and spectators and about 10,000 planes there. And we flew up there, rented a house, just a couple miles away from the airport, and, I came back Monday. It was hard to do the radio show,
Yeah.
and we're not live, we record them in advance, but it was such a terrible show that came out, and by the next day, I was on it, and Tuesday, we had the greatest show ever,
Yeah.
but it just when you take those vacations, right? You
Mhm.
take a week off, sometimes it's hard to come back. We were stumbling and it wasn't as good and smooth as it
Mhm.
sometimes is.
You were rusty.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
And
it
then after
happens.
it won, just like that, the energy, it was all there again.
Yeah.
And that allows me to in fact, that whole show was about airplanes. And I related it to business because it's a financial podcast.
Mhm.
But really, I just want to talk about the planes that I saw in Oshkosh and how you can turn them into an investment and make money on them.
Right. Exactly.
Uh,
So if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn from you, how can they?
the first thing, get the free stuff and see if you like me, because I'm not for everybody. I am in your face. If you want results, I guarantee I'll get you results if you don't fall apart on the way.
Yeah.
But like I said, after losing 3 jobs in 2 years, I went from 0 to 20 units
Yeah.
in the next 2. And I buy 20 to 40 units a year every year. I've closed on a unit roughly every 7 to 10 days for 22 years now.
Wow.
Um,
That's cool.
it's so easy. I got my kids to do it. It's not, that's the wrong word. It's so simple, but it's not easy at all.
Yeah.
And you got to be willing to put in the work. So listen to the Real Power Family radio show. It is on every podcast network.
Beautiful.
And if you really want to learn more about me, we have so many free giveaways and stuff. Go to my website, realpowerfamily.com, and that'll read, it goes to the parent company, Clear Sky Trainer. But we have 21 different ways to buy real estate. We've got, a book about why you should invest. And I talked, one of my last shows with a guest was the president and CEO of a uranium mine in Argentina. And then next week, we're going to have the bartender from the bar that's homeschooling our kids. But I go to eat there at lunch and I'm like, hey, want to be on the show next week? And I love talking to her. She just started homeschooling. So you want to talk about a range of topics, anything that applies to our life, we talk about it.
That's cool. Give us the website one more time.
Realpowerfamily.com.
There you go. Realpowerfamily.com. Cool. Eric, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. This has been a lot of fun and really fast. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, Mike. It is a pleasure to talk to you anytime.
Can I ask you a question? Did you know that there's a technology that uses sound waves that'll tell your brain what to do? There literally is. It's called newcalm.com. It can tell your brain to heal, tell your brain to sleep, tell your brain to do all kinds of things. It can get you fired up. It can be a pre-workout. Newcalm.com. And the promo code is Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at the Mike Litton Experience.